Hello, and welcome to TD's Pokemon Lair. I'm TD, and this is the Lair. Today, we'll be unboxing a box of 10 Pokemon cards I sent to Professional Sports Authenticator, or PSA, over a year ago, and I just got them back in this nice little box. They send them nice and professionally packaged, so they're nice and safe and sound when they arrive. Let's get them out of this box, and we'll see what grades I got. This is a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Sandslash, a first edition card, the number 41. Let's take a look at the surface of the card. You can see it's very clean. I don't see any damage to the surface of the card, no dirt or grime. Looking at our centering from left to right, it's towards the right, and from top to bottom, I think it's pretty well within tolerance. Our corners and our edges are nice and clean with no damage. As we look to the back of the card, you can see that the centering from left to right is slightly towards the left, and from top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance. Looking at our surface, it's really clean. The graphics are really nice. I don't see any damage or dirt or any problems. Finally, looking at our corners and our edges look pretty good, but all four corners have slight edge damage. And we're going to pull in a grade of Mint 9. That's awesome. We have a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Seadra, a first edition card, the number 42. Looking at the front surface of this card, the graphics look really good. I don't see any surface damage. Our centering from left to right is slightly towards the right, and from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top. Our edges and our corners are nice and clean. As we continue to the back of the card, you can see that the surface and graphics are nice and clean. I don't see any issues there. It really looks good. Our centering from left to right is to the left, and top to bottom is towards the top. Definitely out of spec for 10, and our corners and our edges, you can see that the lower left corner has some slight damage. And that's going to give us a grade of Mint 9. I'll take 9s. Let's look at a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Slowbro, a first edition number 43 card. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really nice. I think the surface is nice and clean. Looking at our centering from top to bottom, I think it's within tolerance, but left to right, it looks quite a bit towards the right. I think it's out of tolerance for the 10. And finally, looking at our corners and our edges, I think they're nice and clean. As we look to the back of the card, the surface is nice and clean as the front of the card. Our centering from top to bottom looks pretty good from left to right. I think it's slightly to the left, possibly within tolerance. And our corners and our edges, I think, are pretty clean. And we're going to get a grade of Gem Mint 10. Wow, I'm really surprised by that one. The centering on the front, I thought, took us out of it. Wow. This is a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Tentacruel, a first edition card, the number 44. Looking at the front of this card, Tentacruel is very clean. There's no dirt, grime to the surface of the card. There's no bends or creases. Our centering from top to bottom, I think, looks good within tolerance, and our side to side is within spec. Our corners and our edges are very clean. The back of the card is looking just as good as the front. I think our centering from left to right and top to bottom are all within tolerance or spec. Our surface of the card looks really good and clean. I don't see any issues with the graphics. Our corners and our edges are looking really clean too. This could be a good card. And our grade is going to be a Gem Mint 10. I was thinking that. Wow. I'm looking at a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Weezing, a first edition card, the number 45. Looking at the front of this card, it looks really clean. There's no dirt or grime. There's no bends or creases. Our centering from top to bottom, left to right, all look within spec. And our corners and our edges, I believe, have no damage. The back of the card looks pretty good. Our surface is nice and clean. No bends or breaks or anything like that. Our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the top, and from left to right, it's slightly towards the left, possibly taking us out of spec. And finally, looking at our corners and our edges, both upper corners and lower left corner has some damage, and there's some slight damage down the right edge. And that's going to give us a grade of near Mint 8. Not too bad. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Ekans, a first edition number 46 card. Looking at the front of this card, The surface of this Ekans card looks really clean. I don't see any grime or dirt, or there's no bends or breaks or creases. Our centering from top to bottom I think is within spec, and left to right. If we take a close look, I think it's within spec, and our corners and our edges are nice and crisp and clean. Flipping the card over, the surface of the card looks really nice and clear. There's no problems with the graphics. Our centering from top to bottom, left to right, all look within spec, and our corners and our edges are very nice. And we're going to get a grade of Gem Mint 10. Man, I wish they all could be 10s. Let us examine this 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Geodude, a first edition, the number 47 card. The front of this card is very clean. I don't see any problems on the surface graphics. I think they're nice. No bends or creases. Our centering from top to bottom and left to right I think is all within tolerance. And we have very crisp and clean corners and edges. As we turn to the back of the card, the surface is very clean. I don't see any bends or creases or any damage. Our centering from left to right I think is slightly towards the left, and from top to bottom I think it's within spec. And as we turn to our corners and our edges, the only damage I can see is there's some slight edge damage down that right side. And we'll receive a grade of Mint 9. I like it. Let's check out this 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Grimer, the number 48 card. Looking at the front of this card, you can see that the surface is nice and clean. There's no dirt or grime, and there's no bends or creases. Our centering from top to bottom, I think it's slightly towards the bottom, and from left to right, it's slightly towards the left. But our corners and our edges are very clean and crisp. Looking at the back of the card, you can see that the surface is clean. There's no creases or bends. Our centering from top to bottom, I think, is pretty good for the back, and from left to right, I think it's towards the right. And our corners and our edges actually look pretty good, except I think there might be some slight damage to that lower left corner. And we'll get a grade of Mint 9. I like it. Like it like that. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Horsea, a first edition card, the number 49 of the set. And as we look at this front of the card, you can see that the centering doesn't look too bad from top to bottom, and from left to right. I think it's possibly within tolerance. And our corners and our edges I don't see any issues with, and our surface looks very clean with no bends or damage or creases. And as I take a look at the back of the card, you can see that the surface is really clean. I don't see any dirt damage or problems there, or bends or creases. Our centering from top to bottom I think looks pretty good. From left to right, I think it's slightly towards the right, but it's pretty close to tolerance. And our corners and our edges, the edges are nice and clean. Our two upper corners have some slight damage. And we're going to get a grade of Mint 9. I'll take those all day long. We're looking at a 1999 Pokemon Fossil Set Kabuto, a first edition, the number 50 of the card set. And the front of this card looks really good. I don't see any problems with the surface. No damage or creases or bends, no dirt. Our centering from top to bottom is towards the top, and from left to right, I think it's actually within spec. And our corners and our edges, I think, are really clean for the front of the card. As we turn the card over and look at the back, you can see that the surface is very clean. There's no bends, creases, or dirt. Our centering from top to bottom is towards the top, and from left to right is slightly towards the left. And our corners and our edges, the only thing I can find is some slight damage, edge damage on the lower right corner. And that's going to give us a grade of Mint 9. Man, I like that. I like it. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and remember, always remember, you got to catch them all. Have a great day.